to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from May 26, 2023. It is, of course, the go-home SmackDown, the final SmackDown before tomorrow night's Night of Champions pay-per-view. We have a lot of things to talk about right here on the SmackDown review, primarily regarding Night of Champions, because I'm going to be giving you guys my preview and predictions for the pay-per-view. I actually did do that with Monday Night Raw, but I kind of wanted to do a better one. I wanted to do a predictions for Night of Champions that is more in-depth and really giving my thoughts on what I think is going to be happening with the show. I did the same thing with Double or Nothing, and I'm actually going to be clipping these two and actually uploading those as separate videos as well, so you guys can check it out on the channel. But overall thoughts on this SmackDown show. SmackDown tonight was, of course, taped because the whole roster right now is in Saudi Arabia, so they actually taped last week's show and this show back-to-back on the same night. So they taped this show last week, and honestly, it wasn't really that big of an important show. Nothing really special happened on the show besides the stuff going on with the Bloodline. It's basically the same scenario as it was last week, which was really, SmackDown really dominated only with the Bloodline stuff. We had Karrion Kross versus AJ Styles. Really, the biggest problem, in my opinion, going into the match with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles is the fact that the build for the match was focusing more on Seth Rollins, which, I mean, in a way, it kind of makes sense because, let's be honest, Seth Rollins is going to be the guy that beats AJ Styles for the world title. But AJ Styles, wasn't really showcased as much. They only air like a video package with AJ Styles. If they had a segment with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles together, it would have made more sense and it would have made the match a little more intriguing. But they didn't do that. They had a great match tonight with Karrion Kross, which wasn't a bad match. We had Austin Theory defend his United States Championship against Sheamus, and he won by the help of Pretty Deadly. We had Cameron Grimes facing off against Ashante Adonis from Hit Row. When was the last time Hit Row was on television? I have absolutely no idea. We had LA Knight versus Rick Boogs. We had a Bianca Belair segment in which the crowd piped in so much crowd noise. The WWE piped in so much crowd noise during this segment. Honestly, you couldn't even hear a single word that Bianca Belair was saying. It was out of this frickin' world. But yeah, that was really SmackDown. Nothing really special happened on the show. And of course, we had the main event, that being the Kevin Owens show, with the special guests, that being Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And really the main thing to talk about this show was the tension that is going on between Roman and Jimmy Uso. A lot of things escalated on this show. And it looks like the Usos are not going to be a part of Night of Champions tomorrow night. But honestly, is it that really the case? We're just going to have to wait and see. But overall, SmackDown really wasn't that. It wasn't really the best show overall. There was not a lot of things that were really important about this show whatsoever. Again, the Bloodline stuff is really the only thing that is really important nowadays, especially when it comes to WWE programming. Very rare, you would find something that's interesting besides the Bloodline stuff. But yeah, that was really SmackDown. We're going to be kind of scramming through this SmackDown review, and then we're going to be giving you guys the preview and predictions for the Night of Champions pay-per-view. But before I get on with all of this craziness, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Plus, the AEW Dynamite review is up on the channel. I talk about AEW Collision being announced, the premiere show for Collision being announced for Chicago at the United Center. And could this be a case of CM Punk setting himself up for a return to AEW? And are they dubbing it The Second Coming? We're going to be talking about that and a lot more on the Dynamite Review. If you guys haven't checked out the Dynamite Review, the link will be in the description below. Also, the Raw review is also up on the channel if you guys haven't checked it out. We talk about the go-home show for Raw that was not important whatsoever. If anything, Raw was a snooze fest, but I talk about everything going on the Raw side of things, which really, I don't know why I said the Raw side of things. I mean, SmackDown and Raw are primarily the same show. I mean, WWE does not really focus on the brand split constantly, but we talk about the go-home show that was not important whatsoever, that being Monday Night Raw. If you guys haven't checked out the Monday Night Raw and the AEW Dynamite Review, the link will be in the description below. All right. Let's get on with Friday Night SmackDown. The show kicked off with Austin Theory taking on Sheamus for the United States Championship. Austin Theory, of course, he's the current U.S. champion, as Gunther is the current Intercontinental champion, and he's over on Raw. Honestly, if you compare both of the mid-card champions in WWE, it's kind of like night and day. The Intercontinental Championship is like the main mid-card championship right now in the WWE. Not to say Austin Theory is bad, because he's doing great things with that title, but let's be realistic. Austin Theory right now, I don't know. I'm not really into a lot of the things that Austin Theory is doing now. Not saying he's doing bad, because he's doing great for himself, but you know, I'm more invested in what Gunther is doing at this point. But he faces Sheamus for the U.S. title. The Theory is in control. Theory goes for repeated shots onto the back of Sheamus. We get a kick by Theory, and then we get a cover by Theory and a near fall. After that, he goes for a back elbow, and then we go for a cover and a kick out. After that, he goes for the rolling blockbuster. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Later on, Theory gets in the face of Sheamus. Sheamus fights back. We then get a kick and a shot by Sheamus. Sheamus continues to be in control. Sheamus then picks him up, but then Theory escapes, but then Sheamus counters and hits the Irish Curse backbreaker. After that, Sheamus picks up Theory, and then we get a roll-up by Theory, and we get a near fall. Then we get a running uppercut by Sheamus, but then he plants Theory down to the mat. We then get a cover once again by Sheamus and a near fall. Sheamus then picks up Theory. He goes to the second rope, but then Theory escapes. Then he hits a shot to the spine of Sheamus. After that, he goes for repeated shots on his back. Theory then picks up Sheamus, but then he plants down Sheamus once again to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall, and then Theory sets up the rolling blockbuster once again, but instead he lands into a knee strike by Sheamus. After that, we get a cover by Sheamus and a near fall, but then Theory delivers a boot on Sheamus onto the apron. Theory, being the heel that he is, grabs a chair, and Ridge Holland and Butch from the Brawlin' Brutes, who came out with Sheamus in the beginning of the match, basically come in and snatch the chair away from Austin Theory. Sheamus then goes for the 10 beats of the Bowering, and then after Pretty Deadly end up coming in, and they manage to attack the Brawling Brutes. Sheamus then fights them off. Sheamus then delivers the 10 beats of the Bowering. I believe it was on Prince, correct me if I'm wrong. Then we get a roll-up by Theory, and he manages to retain the United States Championship. Overall, nothing really special. Again, I like Austin Theory, but I'm not really too keen on him with a lot of the things that he's doing, as well as Sheamus. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sheamus. They're one of my favorite parts on SmackDown, but, I mean, really, what are they doing right now, honestly? You know, to be quite honest, if they were drafted on Raw, I would have been totally fine with that, because, you know, I really wanted to see Sheamus versus Gunther one-on-one. If Sheamus had gone to Raw, but he didn't get drafted, he got drafted to SmackDown, so that really sucks. But nonetheless, I mean, honestly, it was kind of a nothing match, and you kind of knew that Austin Theory was going to be retaining the United States Championship anyway, so that was that. After that, here in our next segment, we have more important things. We got the Bloodline. Paul Heyman basically fills the Usos in. Roman then he basically tells the wise man, "Hey, Paul Heyman, or wise man, fill him in." He says Roman feels guilty that they won't be joining him at Night of Champions. They are personally invited to join them next week for the 1,000-day title reign celebration of the greatest champion of all time. Roman then says he wants to bring the whole family, especially Jay. Jay kind of has that pissed off look in his face, like, you know, he's like, you know what, man, screw this. I want to go eat. Jimmy stands up, and Roman just has that look on his face, like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And Roman demands him to sit down. And then what happens is Jimmy refuses. He is rebelling against the tribal chief. After that, Roman stands up. And whenever Roman stands up, you know shit's going to go down. Roman then gets in the face of Jimmy Uso. Very similar to when he did the same thing a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. He gets in the face of Jimmy Uso. And Roman tells him, hey, do something. I dare you, do something. Nothing changed. Think about when we were kids. I whooped him then, and I will whoop you now. You will respect me. You will obey me, and you will acknowledge me. And he tells him to get out of his locker room, and that was that. So it's kind of weird. It looked like the tension was originally with Jay and Roman. Now it's kind of shifted. The tension is more with Jimmy and Roman. Shit's very interesting. You know, a lot of people are complaining about the fact that we're going to be getting a tag team match with Roman and Solo versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn tomorrow night at the pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. But if you really think about it, storyline-wise, it kind of makes sense. I don't think it's going to be a scenario in which they're going to be putting 4 belts on Roman Reigns. I think Solo and Roman are going to be losing, but Roman is not going to be the one to take the pinfall. I genuinely believe the Usos are going to be involved in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to be continuing that discussion when I talk about the predictions for Night of Champions. But very interesting developments going on when it comes to the Bloodline. The Bloodline continues to crumble from within. Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi take on Bayley and Io Sky from Damage Control. You want to know the state of the women's division? Whenever somebody gets injured, Raquel Rodriguez gets a new partner, and it's Shotzi. Nobody cares. Raquel and Bayley start. Bayley tags in. Shotzi tags in. Both teams fight it out. The heels get basically take the, they get taken to the outside. We get a suicide dive by Shotzi on the outside, but then she takes Io back into the ring. We then get a cover by Shotzi and a near fall. At this point, Raquel Rodriguez is the legal woman, but then she proceeds to work on Io Sky. And then Bayley tags in. She takes out Raquel, and then we get a double team by Damage Control. After that, we get a roll-up and a near fall by Bayley. Then once we're back from commercial break, Damage Control is in control. After that, Io makes the tag. Then Bayley tags in. Raquel tries to fight back, but then we get a boot on Io, but then Shotzi makes the tag. Then she faceplants Bayley with a running bulldog. After that, she goes for a running knee, followed by a right hand. After that, she hits a snap suplex. After that, she hits a running senton onto the back of Bayley onto the ropes. That being Shotzi, by the way. We get a cover by Shotzi and a near fall. At this point, Io makes the distraction with the referee. Then Io Sky tags in. We get a double kick by Damage Control, but then we get a cover by Io and a near fall when Raquel makes the save. We get a stomp onto the foot of Shotzi, but then we get a kick by Io, and then we get a waist lock. Then she proceeds to, what it looked like, hit a German suplex. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. And then Raquel Rodriguez drags Bayley out into the ring. Then later on, she hits a sunset flip by Bayley. And then she goes for the senton by Io onto the back of Raquel. But then there was miscommunication on Io and Bayley's perspective. And Raquel goes for the pin. And she has Bayley's shoulders down. And she manages to get the win. They're definitely playing the story of probably the eventual split of Damage Control. Because let's be real honest with each other. Damage Control, and I've constantly stated this every week, Damage Control is a failed experiment. It just doesn't work whatsoever, and I feel like, it's best for Io Shirai to split away from Bayley and really go on her own, and I feel like that's what they're really starting to play into, and I'm not really against it. I'm not against it, but does it have me caring more about Damage Control? Honestly, no. I mean, Damage Control, every time when they came out, I just wasn't really invested at all. And honestly, this match was kind of a nothing match if you really think about it. We got Seth Rollins video package, and then we get an AJ Styles video package. Of course, it's building up to their match at the Night of Champions show. The biggest problem, and I talked about this at the top of the show, but the biggest problem with this match is, I don't want to say that this match is overly predictable because there can be a small chance that AJ may end up winning the World Heavyweight Championship. But the biggest problem, primarily with the build for this match, is that it's really focused a lot more on Seth Rollins rather than AJ Styles, if that makes any sense. You know, Seth Rollins had the sit-down interview with Corey Graves. Why couldn't they do the same thing with AJ Styles? Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, why couldn't they have a face-to-face segment? Granted, they're on opposite brands, but they're wrestling each other anyway at the pay-per-view, so why not do it? Small things like that kind of make no sense. The Grayson Waller effect segment with AJ Styles, it was possibly done to set up maybe a future program with AJ Styles and Grayson Waller, which honestly I do not want to see. I'm not really the biggest Grayson Waller guy. But again, you know, really, if you think about it, the Grayson Waller segment with AJ Styles really did nothing to kind of get me excited for that match at Night of Champions. So honestly, I feel like WWE could have done a little bit more to really get the fans excited for this match. It's going to be a fantastic match regardless. I'm genuinely excited for this match, but the build was just not really the best in my eyes. Granted, they only had like 2 weeks to build up for this match, so maybe that's the case. But again, they didn't really build a lot of intrigue. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens at Night of Champions. But you know, really, Seth Rollins has more of a likely chance to win the match than AJ Styles. After that, we get Cameron Grimes versus Ashante Adonis of Hit Row. When Hit Row came out, I was like, what? When was the last time Hit Row was on television? I completely forgot. That's how irrelevant Hit Row is on the main roster. So the match starts, and by the way, I love what they're doing with Cameron Grimes, by the way. I'm a big Cameron Grimes guy. To the moon. We get a Hurricane Rana by Cameron Grimes, and then we get an elbow drop by Grimes, and then we get a cover engineer fall. Then Ashante Adonis takes him into the corner, and then we get he goes for a couple of body shots. Adonis then lands into the corner, but then Top Dollar on the outside interferes. Then Ashante Adonis takes the advantage. Grimes then gets taken into the corner, but then we get a cover by Adonis and a near fall. Grimes then lands on his feet, and then Grimes regains control. And then Grimes hits the, what was the move? Stomp down? The cave-in. The cave-in, my dumbass. We get a cover, and Grimes gets to win the match. After that, Baron Corbin attacks him from behind, so it looks like Cameron Grimes' feud is going to be with Baron Corbin, which, honestly, I'm not really too keen on. I mean, granted, both kind of, I don't want to say have similar characters, but if you think about Cameron Grimes and the stuff he did in NXT a couple of years ago with the feud that he had with LA Knight feuding for the $1 Million Championship, you know what I'm talking about, and that's probably a reason why he's feuding with Baron Corbin, but I mean, it's nothing really special, to be quite honest with you. I'd much rather have Cameron Grimes feud with somebody else, to be quite honest with you. Sorry, I had to pick something up. All right, after that, we get the Bianca Belair segment. I almost botched her name. I don't know why. But, yeah, what are my thoughts on this? To be quite honest with you, this Bianca Belair segment really did nothing for me. Number one, the piped-in crowd noise was just absolutely ridiculous for this segment. I mean, there was a lot of piped-in crowd noise throughout the entirety of this whole show, and WWE's very notorious for piping in crowd noise because, you know, they don't want people to, like, boo certain people and vice versa. You know, they did that when they were shoving Roman Reigns down all of our throats before he turned heel back in 2020. Like, I remember back in 2018, and this was when they were still doing the Roman experiment, and it got really bad by, like, 2017, 2018. I believe it was right after WrestleMania. I think it was building towards the steel cage match that he was going to have with Brock Lesnar. I remember there was one segment where WWE legitimately planted fake fans. Like, they planted, like, fake fans in the front row. And when Roman Reigns came out, literally, I don't think they piped in crowd noise. I'm not sure. But they constantly panned to that section of the planted fans. And, you know, every time when Roman would speak, they would just constantly, like, point to that section of the group of fans. And I'm like, why are they pointing, you know, to those section of fans? And then you would have those fans, like, chant, Roman, 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 Roman. I'm like, nobody chants those things. Like, literally, when WWE tries to, like, either do fake chants and pipe in crowd noise, they always come up with the lamest chants. Like, you suck. Or just Roman, you got served. They're the lamest fucking chants I've ever seen in my life. Like, I remember I believe it was one of the first few months of NXT 2.0 when I didn't really watch NXT, but I saw the disaster that was NXT 2.0 like 2 years ago. And I remember like some of the chants that the fans would chant at the Performance Center were just like, what the hell are you chanting? Like, seriously. I don't know, man. But the Bianca Belair segment didn't do anything for me either. It was kind of boring, and not only that, I could barely hear a single word that Bianca Belair was saying. Nothing personal against Bianca Belair. I like Bianca Belair, but again, her match with Asuka, if you really think about it creatively, kind of makes no sense because the whole point of the draft is for a certain wrestler to have new feuds, but you basically drafted Asuka and Bianca Belair to the same brand so they can continue their feud. I don't know. So she says tomorrow night at Night of Champions, she will be defending her title against Asuka. This is not the same Asuka she remembers from WrestleMania. That Asuka she respected because that Asuka wanted the Raw Women's Championship. And by the way, that is a major issue. Bianca Belair is a SmackDown wrestler holding the Raw Women's Championship. We still have no explanation as to why that is the case. She can actually respect that because she knows how it feels to be Raw Women's Champion. This Asuka is different. She just wants more than just her title. If she wanted her title, all she could have done was ask, but she humiliated her in front of her whole family and her hometown and friends, and that wasn't enough. She did it twice when she tried to help Zelina Vega. Her mind has never been more clear. If Asuka wants a rematch, say less. She ain't just giving her a rematch. She is gonna, and she wants to fight. Asuka then comes out, her music plays, and it looks like Bianca was literally turning towards the stage. But what happens is Asuka comes in from behind and immediately applies the armbar on Bianca Belair. After that, the producers, security, referees come in. They both get separated. Bianca Belair picks her up. It looks like she's going to hit the KOD, but then Asuka manages to escape. And that was that segment. Overall, what are my thoughts on this segment? To be quite honest with you, this segment didn't really do anything for me. Again, the piped-in crowd noise just kind of exhausted me and just pissed me off. But again, what is really the whole point of this whole thing? Couldn't you have done what you were doing with this match at, when you were building up for WrestleMania instead of doing this now? Now, granted, Bianca Belair, if you really think about it, Bianca Belair was going to win at WrestleMania regardless. But again, what is the whole point of this whole feud continuing after the draft? Not only that, you still have the issue with Bianca Belair holding the Raw Women's Championship on a SmackDown show. Again, you got Rhea Ripley as the SmackDown champion on Raw. Every year when it comes to the WWE draft, WWE always put themselves in corners that they shouldn't even be in. They always put themselves in just really negative corners, and they shouldn't do that all the time. But that is the problem when you have a draft every year. Do I think the match is going to be great at Night of Champions? Yeah, but what is the point? There's no point at all, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Man, there could be a chance that Asuka may win at, Night of Champions, but honestly, I don't think that's going to be the case. After that, we got LA Knight versus Rick Boogs, the tag team that did not last long whatsoever. The Street Profits come out and they join the commentary team. Boogs is in control. He picks him up and then he drops Knight onto the announce table. Once we're back in the ring, both men exchange shots, but then Knight is in the corner. Knight then regains control and then he drives his knee on Boogs into the corner, but then he drives Boogs down. And then he misses the knee drop, but then we get a front face lock by Knight, but then Boogs immediately powers out. Off the second rope, LA Knight gets caught, and then he gets planted by Boogs, but then Boogs drops Knight, and then he gut wrenches LA Knight, and then he picks up Knight, but then targets the eyes and hits the BFT. And we get a cover, and LA Knight gets the win. And then he turns towards the Street Profits because he heard that they were talking shit on commentary and says that they keep talking. What he just showed us, he took out all the trash, and their time is coming because that ain't, that's all aspect of life. Yeah. So basically, it looks like LA Knight is probably going to have a feud with the Street Profits, and I believe it's going to be Montez Ford versus LA Knight next week on SmackDown because they are starting Money in the Bank qualifiers because we are on our way to Money in the Bank at the O2 Arena in London. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do there. Most likely, I genuinely do believe LA Knight is going to get the win because a lot of people have been saying, hey, LA Knight is super over with the fans. He should be slated to be in a main event, title run or the title scene at least. But the biggest problem with that is with Roman Reigns holding those titles, there's no goddamn way in hell LA Knight is going to sniff Roman Reigns. He could have easily sniffed the World Heavyweight Championship title scene, but that is over on Raw, and LA Knight is on SmackDown. But with the Money in the Bank, maybe the possibilities could be endless, but I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see with that. But it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with LA Knight next week. If they do not add him in the Money in the Bank match, then that's kind of disappointing in my opinion. We got Karrion Kross versus AJ Styles. Nonetheless, this was not a bad match whatsoever. But AJ, again, I talked about this earlier, but the match with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, even though I'm excited for it, I thought the build for this match wasn't really the best. Granted, it was 2 or 3 weeks that they had a build for this match, but all they did was just air video packages of AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. That's really all they did, and nothing really special. Yeah, they had a segment with AJ Styles on the Grayson Waller effect, but there was nothing really intriguing about that segment. Nothing really special came out of that segment. So, honestly, what was the whole point? What, to set up a possible future program with AJ Styles and Grayson Waller? That is something I do not want to see, in my opinion. But, nonetheless, the match was good. Kross drives AJ into the turnbuckle head first. We get a Northern Light suplex by Kross, but then we get a dropkick by AJ on Kross. After that, we get a couple of rights and chops by AJ Styles, and then we get a dropkick again by AJ. And then Kross runs into a boot, but then Scarlett gets involved and grabs the leg of AJ Styles. After that, Kross goes for a kick on AJ, but then Michin comes out and chases away Scarlett. Once we're back from commercial break, Kross is in control over AJ Styles, but then AJ fights back on Kross. But then runs into the back elbow by Kross, but then we get a cover by Kross and a kick out. AJ goes for his phenomenal blitz. After that, he takes him out into the corner. He picks up Kross, but then Kross escapes, but then Styles goes for the Pele kick, and then he goes for the sliding forearm. He then manages to pick up Kross, but then he hits the knee onto the back of the neck of Kross, and then we get a cover and a near fall. After that, AJ takes Kross to the top turnbuckle for a tornado DDT attempt, but Kross counters and goes for a suplex bridge. And actually, no, AJ, I believe, I don't even remember who went for the bridge. I think it was Kross who went for the bridge, and then after that, he goes for a suplex after that. We get a cover and a near fall. Styles fights back, but then we get a kick by AJ on Kross. He then sets up the Styles Clash, but then AJ gets taken to the apron. AJ goes for a forearm, and then he goes for the phenomenal forearm, and then we get a cover, and AJ Styles beats Karrion Kross. I mean, it's pretty logical that Karrion Kross lost and AJ Styles won, because if AJ Styles lost this match against Karrion Kross, then honestly, it would kind of make AJ the lesser of Seth Rollins than what he already is. It would have made AJ Styles more or less than coming into this match than he already is, because literally as it stands right now, Seth Rollins is up here and AJ Styles is up here coming into this match at Night of Champions. After that, we get a backstage interview with AJ Styles, and he says Seth Rollins is invincible and he can be unstoppable. He can be Seth freaking Rollins, but he can't be phenomenal, and he will put a phenomenal beating, and he will become the first ever world heavyweight champion. After that, we got the Kevin Owens show with our special guests, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Kevin Owens welcomes us to the Kevin Owens show, but instead of that, it's the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn show. Night of Champions, they would defend their titles against Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, but before they do that, there are a couple of things that they need to get off their chest. And then they call out Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns because, of course, they are the guests of this show. But what happens? The wise man comes out, Paul Heyman, and he says it amazes him how we still do not get the plot. Our tribal chief comes out doesn't come out when they want to. The tribal chief comes out when he wants to. There's no booing when the wise man has the microphone. Our tribal chief comes out, decides when he wants to come out. And then what happens is the Usos come out instead. Jay has the microphone, and they are out here talking like it's all good, like they forgot they're so worried about tomorrow night. But they got a bigger problem standing in front. And, of course, I think it was Jay that stated this. No, or Jimmy, that they got a big problem in front of Sami. Kevin Owens then interrupts Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens then gives a spoiler. He says he knew Roman wouldn't come out, and he wanted to talk to the Usos. For months, Sami has been telling him that they need to help the Usos, and to be honest, I thought it was very dumb and stupid, and he couldn't care less. But he's been telling them for months, but KO will tell them. He has been right about everything the entire time. He's been right about the way Roman treats them and about how they deserve better. Roman Reigns is this narcissistic, delusional person, and he calls himself the head of the table. He can call him what he wants, but he looks at the heart. What do you think the Bloodline would be without them? He treats them like they are the appendix. He doesn't really need them. He uses them, that being the Usos. They don't do anything unless Roman tells them to do something. Jimmy, you know I'm telling the truth. And, of course, Kevin Owens turns towards Jimmy because he knows Jimmy is the one that's having the issues currently with Roman Reigns. What is going on in your head when you were the greatest tag team in WWE to Roman's little errand boys? Jimmy then gets the microphone, and he goes ballistic. He says when it comes to the Usos, when it comes to the day ones, he is the tribal chief. Yes, Jimmy Uso himself calls himself the tribal chief. And the look on Paul Heyman's face where he has both titles on his freaking shoulders and he's literally standing on the apron. The look on Paul Heyman's face had me laugh my ass off because he knew Jimmy fucked up. And immediately Roman's music plays and Roman just storms out. He comes out and he just stares at the Usos, he literally snatches the mic away from Jay, and he snatches the mic from Jimmy, and he's literally staring at Jimmy, and he's so pissed off. And what happens is Sami comes in and he says, "Hey Roman, you know it's over, right? The Bloodline is collapsing, and it's all his fault." And Roman Reigns literally comes to Sami Zayn and just snatches the microphone away from the hand of Sami Zayn. And Kevin Owens literally comes in and stunners the shit out of Roman Reigns. After that, a brawl breaks loose. After that, Solo comes in. He hits the spike on Sami, and then he hits the spike on Kevin Owens. And Solo takes Sami after that. And what happens is Roman hits the spear. The Bloodline stands tall. And both Usos have the tag team championships. And what happens is Jay gives his set of tag team titles to Solo Sikoa. And then after that, Jimmy has the other set of tag team titles. And Roman is wanting those titles. And what happens is literally Jimmy, I should say, is just not having it. He's just having those titles in his hand. And Roman is literally just getting pissed off. And Jay comes in and tries to take the belts from Jimmy, but literally Jimmy holds on. But finally, Jay takes those titles, gives it to Roman, and Roman stands tall with both of the tag team championships at hand. This was a fantastic segment to close the show. Again, this is storytelling at its finest. This was great stuff. I absolutely loved this stuff. Roman and the Bloodline, of course, a lot of people are saying, the Bloodline kind of cooled off, and you could say that for sure, but things are really going to escalate more as we head towards Night of Champions and, of course, as we head towards the summer, because when it comes to the summer, WWE really pulls out all the stops. And what's interesting about this whole tension going on between Roman and Jimmy is, could it be a scenario of WWE swerving us? Maybe Roman had the problems with Jey Uso all along, but it looks like he doesn't really have those problems. Another thing I want to mention is the fact that we also got the 1,000-day celebration of Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion. What is going to happen on that segment next week? Most likely it's going to be happening on SmackDown. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but I'm very, very, very interested to see what goes down, man. When it comes to major Bloodline segments like the 1,000-day celebration, they never disappoint. I mean, any Bloodline segment never disappoints, but if you go back and you look at, the Raw 30th anniversary show and you had the Tribal Court of Sami Zayn, that segment was perfection. I absolutely loved that segment, of course, and it led to that amazing ending we got at the Royal Rumble. But then again, what are we going to be seeing at Night of Champions? Are the Usos going to be involved? And what are we going to be seeing on SmackDown this coming Friday when it comes to the 1,000-day celebration. They're going to bring all the members of the NOI family, I assume. That's what I think they're going to be doing, but it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, man. I'm definitely invested, and really, if you think about it, this was the only thing that was good on this SmackDown show. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from May 26, 2023. We are now going to be giving you guys the preview and predictions for Night of Champions. I kind of want to go more in depth, and I'm actually going to be clipping these and uploading these as separate videos as well. So if you guys do not want to move around on this podcast, then you can watch it on a separate video. But nonetheless, we got the Night of Champions pay-per-view happening. And honestly, man, things are very interesting when it comes to the show. I mean, I'm not really too excited about it, but at the same time, I feel like they're definitely going to be delivering. And nonetheless, I mean, you know, some of the matches on Night of Champions are going to be fantastic. They really are. They're going to be great matches. And some of the matches I'm just not really that keen on and too interested in. But, you know, it's definitely, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot. All right, in our first match of the evening, we're literally going to like go from the bottom of the barrel all the way to the top. We got Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch. I mean, what is to say when it comes to this feud? I mean, this feud, to be quite honest with you, is doing nothing for me. I mean, the contract signing segment that they had this past Monday on Raw was just atrocious. I mean, Becky, if you really think about it, Becky kind of carried the whole thing. And honestly, Trish Stratus is just not good on the mic. I am not really feeling this whole Trish Stratus heel turn, to be quite honest with you. It just kind of makes no sense. And not only that, the promos that Trish Stratus are cutting, it's the same thing over and over and over again. They use the same words. I'm the trailblazer, blah, blah, blah. I was the reason why you guys care about women's wrestling, blah, blah, blah. We've been there, done that. Give me a feud that I'm so invested in to the point where I'm literally like, give me a feud where I just want to see two women legitimately beat the shit out of each other that do not like each other. Granted, that it's probably this feud, but again, this feud is just, it's doing nothing for me. This feud is very forced, and I'm not really that big on it. Who do I think is going to be winning this match? Possibly Becky Lynch, but it depends on how long Trish Stratus is going to be a part of the roster, because we all know Trish Stratus is a part-timer, and we're just going to have to wait and see what they do. So if they have more plans for Trish Stratus, my best bet would be Trish Stratus, and I wouldn't be surprised if Trish Stratus won, but nonetheless, I definitely do see Becky Lynch getting the win. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, we got Rhea Ripley versus Natalya. You know, I've went on record and stated that Natalya, you know, she's completely irrelevant in 2023, and I stand by that statement. It's pretty logical who should win this match. Rhea Ripley. Let's move on. We got the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair taking on Asuka. Now, the biggest problem when it comes to the Women's Championships is the placement of the titles. You got Rhea Ripley over on Raw holding the SmackDown Women's Championship, and you got Bianca Belair on SmackDown holding the Raw Women's Championship. Honestly, WWE, and I talked about this on this very review, every time when the draft comes around, they always have a tendency to really put themselves into a corner that they cannot get out of. And this is one of those scenarios. The confusion is just absolutely ridiculous. Are they going to be merging the titles? We have absolutely no idea. Why is Bianca Belair on Raw, and why is Bianca Belair on SmackDown and Rhea Ripley on Raw? Again, this shit's confusing me. Like, it's ridiculous. But another thing, the whole point of the draft is to create new stories for certain wrestlers. Bianca Belair beat Asuka already. So if you think about it, if Bianca Belair is moving to SmackDown, don't you think there should be new feuds that Bianca Belair should be having instead of having the same feud that she had over on Raw? It's basically having the same feud on one show, but then moving to the other. That's they just move shows, nothing special. But again, the build for this match wasn't really the best. I mean, Asuka's, of course, a heel. Do I see Asuka getting the win? Maybe, but Bianca Belair is on this long winning streak. I mean, she had the Raw Women's Championship for well over a year. I don't see her, them, you know, beat it. You know, I don't see Bianca Belair losing anytime soon, but honestly, at this point, I really do not know. But Bianca Belair is my pick to win and retain the Raw Women's Championship. We got the Intercontinental Championship with Gunther defending his title against Mustafa Ali. Now, on paper, this match sounds really dumb. But if you really think about it, us fans will look hypocritical because we've all wanted the best for Ali. And now Ali has the chance to dethrone Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Yes, can you say that the character for Mustafa Ali is not really the best? This whole positivity character, is not really doing Ali any favors. I actually tend to differ. I'm actually very intrigued with the character that he has with the whole positivity shit, surprisingly. But nonetheless, even though we all know Mustafa Ali is going to be losing this match, because there's no chance in hell, no pun intended, there's no freaking way that Mustafa Ali is going to be beating Gunther. This match is actually going to make Mustafa Ali look 10 times better with Gunther because Gunther is actually going to be making Mustafa Ali look like $1 million. That is the takeaway from this whole match. And this match is probably going to be fantastic nonetheless. So, who is my pick to win this match? Of course, Gunther is going to be retaining the Intercontinental Championship. But nonetheless, though, Mustafa Ali is going to look 10 times better after that. We got Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Honestly, this feud I'm not really too keen on. It would have been much more logical if you had this feud for the world title, but they didn't put the belt on Cody at WrestleMania. That was their fault. Honestly, we really had no explanation as to why Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of Cody Rhodes. Like, he kind of beat him for no reason. And the match at Backlash, I don't even know what was it, like 10 minutes that they had a match? I mean, it wasn't really the best match, and by all means, it wasn't even the show stealer. But what do I think is going to be happening in this match? I definitely do see Brock Lesnar getting the win. There were some reports stating that WWE is probably going to do a trilogy of matches with Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes, so it looks like Cody Rhodes is going to win the whole feud, but the second match, Brock Lesnar is going to be getting the win. So my pick to win this match, definitely Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions. After that, we got the World Heavyweight Championship match with Seth Rollins going up against AJ Styles. As the IWC loves to say, the consolation prize, and it's very well true. The IWC says a lot of stupid shit, but let's be honest with ourselves. This is a consolation prize at the end of the day, and if you disagree with me, you are part of the problem. This is a consolation prize at the end of the day because of the simple fact is that on the other show, Roman Reigns has those titles and Roman Reigns is completely untouchable. Whoever has those championships, it can be literally a guy like Gunther. Even though I'd be advocating for a guy like Gunther to win that title because he can legitimize that title, if Roman Reigns was still the champion and Gunther had the World Heavyweight title, if you compare both Gunther and Roman Reigns, Gunther would look inferior to Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns has been on this freaking run of a lifetime as the Universal Champion. They'd be uncomparable just by that alone. So by default, if you really think about it, the World Heavyweight Championship is a consolation prize at the end of the day. But nonetheless, who do I think is going to be winning the match between Seth Rollins and AJ Styles? Honestly, it's pretty logical. Seth Rollins is going to be winning this match. The belt was solely made for Seth Rollins. But not only that, the belt is Raw exclusive. Seth Rollins is a part of Raw. AJ is a SmackDown wrestler competing for this championship that is Raw exclusive, which makes no sense. But there's a small percentage of me, like a 5% chance of me, maybe a 2% chance that AJ Styles could get the win. Maybe they're setting something up. Maybe, again, I mentioned this back. Solo Monster made a great prediction. What if AJ Styles wins the title and he moves to Raw with the OC? Meanwhile, SmackDown gets a trade, and instead they got Roman Reigns to replace AJ Styles on the roster spot for SmackDown. That is not a bad idea because then you can lead to Cody Rhodes going for, Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. But from what it looks like, I don't think they're going to be doing Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, and I think they're going to move it all the way to WrestleMania 40, which honestly I'm not looking forward to. I don't think that's the right decision to make because at that point the fans are just going to, I don't want to say grow tired of Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is still super over. And I like that about him. But again, I don't know if they can keep all that momentum in 1 year for Cody Rhodes, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, very interesting scenarios. But my pick to win this match, definitely Seth Rollins is going to be getting the win. And in our main event of the evening, we have the main event, that being Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa fighting to win the tag team championships against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Again, on paper, this match seems very stupid, but if you really think about it storyline-wise, it makes total sense. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa are going after the tag team championships instead of the Usos because the Usos constantly are failing Roman Reigns time after time after time after time after time. So it makes total sense storyline-wise. Do I think Roman Reigns is going to win the tag team championships with Solo Sikoa? Absolutely not. Last week on SmackDown, they did tease, some tension with Solo and Roman Reigns when Roman Reigns accidentally bumped into Solo Sikoa. Could that be a factor in this whole scenario? The Usos, they blatantly stated on television that the Usos were not going to be at that show, but what if they were involved in this show? Could it be a scenario in which the Usos get involved and they cost Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa the tag team championships? Because if Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa are losing that match, and we all know they are going to be losing that match, there's no fucking way Roman Reigns is going to get pinned. Absolutely no way. It's going to be a scenario in which Solo Sikoa gets pinned, and his winning streak is kind of fucked up. That's what I see happening, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But my pick to win this match is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn end up getting the win, and the tension in the Bloodline is going to be continuing. So yeah, that was my Night of Champions preview and predictions. We definitely talked a lot about Night of Champions. I think Night of Champions is going to be a great show regardless. I'm excited for the show, and I think there's going to be a lot of interesting developments going on when it comes to tomorrow afternoon's pay-per-view. So yeah, man, be on the lookout for my Night of Champions review tomorrow night, because of course the show is going to be happening at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and hopefully I can get my review out tomorrow at night. And when it comes to Double or Nothing, hopefully I can get my Double or Nothing review tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night, Sunday night. But if I can't, Monday morning or Monday afternoon, wherever I have the time to film the review. But it's going to be a big weekend. We got Night of Champions, and we also got Double or Nothing. So be on the lookout for those reviews. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from May 26, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the Squared Circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.